Yeah, we have Roy here with us. Evening. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, mindset, and hello everyone. Evening, afternoon, morning, depending on where you are. Thank you.
And we have Miss Adenike with us. Miss Adenike, good evening. How are you
I'm
doing?
very well, thank you, man. Said good evening, everybody. Good evening, Prof.
Good day, ma'am.
All right, so let's get the ball rolling. Prof, you've seen everything that's going on. I'm going to start with let me start with River State, then we can come to the issue of Senator Natasha Apoti. I hope if that's okay, or should I start with Senator Natasha, then we go to River State because I saw the article. Sorry, sir, go ahead.
Go on, please.
Yeah, because I read the article regarding River State. I know it's not a trending topic at this point, but I think it's very important that a lot of people, I would recommend that everybody on this platform will go back and read that article. It says a lot about what you have been saying in regards to the Nigerian judiciary. And let me start by asking you, what do you make of the Supreme Court ruling on the on River State?
No, thanks again, Mindset. You know, I told you I wouldn't comment on the judgment before I'd seen it already. And so the certified true copy of the judgment eventually was issued last Friday. And, you know, this is why I like to say to people, I can't consider myself a Nigerian lawyer anymore because the things that courts do at whatever level you try, for the most part, do not make sense. And that really summarizes my view of that particular judgment. It does not make sense. In one sentence, it doesn't make sense. It's a scandal. And if you want me to explain why I think it's a scandal, I will try and do so.
Please go ahead, sir. We try to learn from you. Thank you.
You know, in every case, you have the issues in dispute. And every court has issues on the basis of which it needs to reach a decision. In this particular case, the Rivers State government, or the House of Assembly, the Amewule faction, was asking the court, started off in the Federal High Court in July 2024, went up to the Court of Appeal by October 2024, and in December 2024, it went up to the Supreme Court. So even you start off with just this supersonic speed of the proceedings, you know, from July and by February. Now, the case at the Court of Appeal, the High Court took 3 months. Court of Appeal, it took 1 month and 11 days. From the decision of the Federal High Court to the decision of the Court of Appeal was 1 month and 11 days, including filing of all the paperwork. And then from the Supreme Court, with the Supreme Court, it was about 2 months, right? That's beyond supersonic. By contrast, by the way, the case at the Federal High Court questioning the legal consequences of the defections is still stuck in the Federal High Court. It's not going beyond that, right? Now, the issue here was the request to interdict the federal allocation of Rivers State in order to preclude them from using it to finance the state's appropriations while, because the budget had not been passed by the Amewule faction. That basically is the issue here. Now, mind you, the Amewule faction had actually announced defection on TV, on radio, in the newspapers, and by affidavit filed in court. That was not in dispute. What you now have, I don't know whether you hear me, guys. Does anyone?
Yeah, we can hear it. Yeah, we can hear you, but it appears there's a phone call coming on your own side. So, but we can hear you clearly, sir.
Okay, all right. Now, the case challenging the this particular matter of defections is at the Federal High Court. It's not yet been decided. There's no appeal on it. whether or not the appeal will await the decision. The Supreme Court decided it in this matter. Okay? Now, the Supreme Court panel was comprised of 5 persons. And they decided, number one, that the Federal High Court has jurisdiction in this over the question referred to the question in dispute in this particular case. Secondly, that the Okojumbo faction could not set, being comprised of 5 legislators who are not members of the Awule faction, and therefore could not have lawfully passed the appropriation bill. Having decided those 2 issues, the Supreme Court then proceeded to agree and grant everything that the other side had asked for. Mind you, and this is where the lawyers get technical about these issues. What was being asked for here was an injunction to restrain the central bank from paying over to the River State government monies due to it from the federal allocations, that's the federation account. An injunction, by definition, is a remedy in equity. Okay? An injunction is a remedy in equity. There are several things about, the lawyers will tell you there are 20 maxims of equity. But there are some maxims that come in very handy. Number one, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Number 2, equity does not act in vain. And you can even add the third, which is that the beneficial owner is regarded as the true owner. All of these are rules of equity. In this particular case, the Amewule faction does not come with a clean hand. But the Supreme Court decided of its own motion that the case, which was at the Federal High Court, could be decided at the Supreme Court without ever having been considered by the Federal High Court. That's unheard of. Number 2, the Supreme Court decided in that case to overrule its previous decision in a case called Abegunde and Ondo State, which came out of the guy who abdicated, moved parties in the course of a parliamentary term. And the Supreme Court decided in 2015 that once you defect, you automatically lose your seat unless the central party is destitute as a matter or as a result of rift within its leadership and its membership. Now, the Supreme Court overruled that decision without citing it, without considering it, without distinguishing it, without giving reasons. And then the Supreme Court proceeded to grant a whole slew of injunctive reliefs without ever having decided to justify any of the reliefs. It is so revolutionary. It is so radical a way of issuing judicial decisions that it is irresponsible. One more thing the court said. The court said that even the question of defection can no longer be decided by courts. It said that in one sentence with no justification. Look, I'm willing to go out on a limb on this and say that judgment is corrupt. On the face of the record, the Supreme Court judgment is corrupt, and I'm willing to say it and chest it, because there is no other way a judicial forum can give that kind of decision without being corrupt. Full stop. I yield.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. It's hard talk, obviously. So whenever we are on hard talk, we don't spare anything. We say the way it is. You use the word, and you said it twice. The Supreme Court is corrupt. But then again, let me ask you a question in regards to the article that you wrote. You say that they are corrupt. Why didn't one of the arguments is that they say that the governor of River State withdraw the suits he filed in regards to these guys moving to a different party. That was one of their reasons. So what do you make of that?
No, he hasn't. That case is at the Federal High Court.
But you saw it on the on the ruling that they said he withdrew the filing that he made.
No, when you read the judgment, they don't say he withdrew the filing as such. No. When you read what I tweeted out, the most radical of the decisions is a concurring judgment, which I tweeted out earlier today, right? In which a justice of the Supreme Court is trying to justify what they say or how they have called this decision. If I'm sure I can access it somewhere and call it up. If you give me a few seconds.
Please go ahead.
I should be able to access that relatively easily. Just a moment. Because when you read that, what they are saying is that that there is no proof that these people defected. Now, you don't go to the Supreme Court to ask for proof. Proof is done at the lower courts. And you do the proof in lower court proceedings by assembling your evidence. When you get to the Supreme Court, what you do is you have records of proceedings. Okay? And the records are supposed to then contain the evidence you adduced at the lower court level. Now, so when you read this, it's not saying the case was withdrawn. This is Justice Mosi Heme's concurring judgment. Defection is an active term. It manifests itself. It cannot be left to conjecture. If a person defects from one political party to another, there are bound to be empirical proof of such defection. For a person or group of persons to be said to have defected, the political party from where they defected must, at least, be aware of such defection. And the political party where they defected to must also have evidence of their new members. In the instant case, there is evidence on record that the national chairman of the PDP wrote, stating that the said 27 members of the River State House of Assembly were still their members and have been paying their dues. On the other hand, the chairman of the APC in River State, where they were alleged to have defected to, also stated that the names of the 27 members were not in the APC register of members and that they have not paid any membership dues to the APC. It is therefore safe to conclude that in spite of all the noise about defection, none of the 27 members of the River State House of Assembly actually fulfill the basic requirement to be said to have defected to another political party. This is not a judgment. This is a political manifesto. This is a judge who has joined a political party. All right? Now, first of all, I don't know whether you noticed, for the PDP, this judge says the national chairman of the party wrote. For the APC, the state party wrote. Surely, you cannot be asking national chairman, the national chairman and the state chairman of the parties cannot be the same thing. And where do people, by the way, when do people join parties? They join parties from their wards. And they are not asking for evidence from the ward levels at all. But that's not the point. All the noise about defection, that's not judicial comportment. That's not judicial expression. That's a spokesperson for the weaker faction of these proceedings. And this is the problem, that the judiciary cannot even comport itself to hide its biases anymore in these political cases. Judges are behaving as if they have been bought and sold on the open market of judicial prostitution. And all of us are supposed to keep quiet and feed off of this madness. And senior lawyers are making it look legit. And younger lawyers and aspiring lawyers are looking at this and thinking this is the way things are supposed to be done. And as citizens, we are clapping at all of this, and saying, oh, yeah, this senior advocate knows the law. This is nonsense. This is madness. This is not law. This is corruption on the face of a judgment.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. So I'm just going to take some questions from the people on the speaker section. Please, if you want to ask a question, raise your hand. It's just question, and we just go to the next question. Umar, please go ahead. You raise your hand.
Let me welcome Prof. And to say that you have given us a rendition that has enriched our legal vocabularies. My questions are 3 in 1. The first question I want to ask is, what do you refer to, in the course of judgment, for a judge to question certain things that have happened, which is not before him for education? For instance, in the Supreme Court judgment of the 2023 elections, Justice, please, man said, remind me of my judge that I like from Cross.
Agim.
Yes, Justice Emmanuel Agim.
Sorry, guys, I need to switch it to this particular issue because this is what really speaks to the issue with Natasha. So, women in politics, basically.
Those ones are philosophical. The reality on ground is that out of 100 women, rich women, well-to-do women, career women, hardly will you find up to 20 that will be very humble and submissive at home. Hardly. And that applies wherever they find themselves. So how then would anybody come to insinuate that women are being marginalized in any way? How many ministers, female ministers, have we had, even under this very present government? What were their stories? The one that left women, is it women or youth affair or something like that? Whatever the name, the one from the same Kogi, I think. What was the story? What was the story? And when someone was making mention of Olubumiete, the former speaker, what was the story behind Olubumiete? What was the story behind this other woman from Anambra, the only female governor in Anambra then? What was the story behind most of these women we found, with exception of maybe the likes of Dora Akunyele, the late blessed memory, and Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. But then if you were a teacher, a class teacher, and out of 100 students, only 10 passed exam and 90 failed, please, can you still consider yourself as a good teacher if you are a class? These are the cogent questions we need to ask ourselves. And let's not dwell most on sentiment, but let's face the reality that most of these are women. They prepare themselves to be where they are, and they do not prepare themselves for futuristic purpose. Thank you very much.
You've actually made some huge assertions here, and I think I would want to come in here and kind of point out certain things. So, on the fact of, in terms of education, I don't know. I find it hard to believe that the failure of our education today as a country will be more within the women fold as against a general decline in education. Because even the males out there are no different from the female that we see in terms of, but as much as we also have people, male and female out there, who are not doing so well. We also have the ones who are doing well, right? Who have decided to turn the lemonade Nigeria has offered them, the lemon Nigeria has offered them into lemonade, right? So I don't think I want to make it a gender-specific thing. And when we talk about governance and talk about women who have not really delivered well, well, if we look at it, like I did quote the statistics, the proportions, women in Nigeria had not really held more than 10 to 20% of offices, right? And Nigeria is where it is today. So should we stop electing males? Will be my question. Should we stop electing males into office? Because if we are saying that a parameter to determine the women inclusion in politics is because there have been a few of them who have not done well. But while we also say a few of them have not done well, I think we should also look at the fact that there are lots of them who have done exceptionally well. I dare say that a lot of names ring a bell today. If we want to talk about in terms of governance across the world, I think more women have put us on the world map in terms of governance and leadership and administration than males have actually done. Because if we want to look at it, two of the highest offices Nigerians hold today that are non presidential appointed roles would be one is the WTO. Beyond just the WTO, we've also had the same lady, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, running for the office of the president of the World Bank. And she was an exceptionally qualified candidate, right? We move forward to that. In the same World Bank, we've seen, I think, two Nigerian women have been vice president of the World Bank in terms of Obiezekwe, and we've also seen Aruma Ote as that. We've also seen somebody like Omobola Johnson, who sits on the board of the World Wide Web. We've seen Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala also held in the Gavi Foundation. We've seen what's her name? Amina Mohammed, currently the Deputy General of the United Nations. So I am a bit not sure, but I think I will want to bring in some women into this conversation. Sorry, the men, I will still bring you. I'm seeing your hands, but I've just seen a few women's hand up, and I'd like to just bring them in. I think Real Ever Best, is that a lady? I think top of my head, I think that's male. Okay, I just want to get the ladies to respond. I think Adora, Honorable Adora, let's hear you.
Thank you. Chiguru, thank you,
Sorry,
Jared.
sorry.
Yeah.
Before you proceed, while I know you're wanting to respond to the statements, but I would also want you to also ensure that you address the question in terms of eradicating barriers to women in politics. Okay, go ahead. You got the mic.
Awesome. Thank you. So do I start with responding to his question or to his comment? Because I have a question for him. I'm trying to clarify a few things.
Yeah, just go in the order. Go into the order
Awesome.
you would like.
Okay. All right.
You
Thank
got your
you.
4 minutes. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Desmond, if you're still here, I wanted to know. I guess the totality of your submission was that women are not very equipped, for leadership and just don't do well, basically, in leadership positions. So I wanted to know why you think that is. Why do you think that is the case, please? Thank you.
Okay, am I to respond, please?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you can go. Let's just
Okay.
allow that
All right.
conversation.
Thank you very much.
But so long as it's
Thank you, Honorable.
civil. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Honorable. Please, I wouldn't want us to quarrel over this or to be sentimental about it. The point is just very simple and straight. This is Africa, and as such, when you as an African try to live like a white, there are bound to be a lot of mistakes on the long run. that which make you Africa, we always try to play out. Either way you see it. So that is the real area I think we are getting it wrong. So civilization does not make us different from who we really are. And until we return to our root, I don't really think we will find a headway. I said this because the day this issue of feminism was introduced was this beginning of the deroute.
Did we lose Desmond? I stopped hearing him.
Yeah, I think we've lost him. But you can.
Okay. Yeah.
Continue.
So I think that well, I would have wanted a bit of clarification with what he's saying about we being African, we need to get back to our roots and all of that. But I could honestly say that with his coming up with the whole feminism part, I think I get I get what he means, and this is still the problem, right, Desmond? If you're listening somewhere, the reason that there will continue to be barriers in women getting into politics in Africa, is it Africa now or Nigeria, right? Is because of talks like this, because of people who have this viewpoint that there's an inherent reason why just because a person is a woman, then leadership roles they won't do well. And I feel like this is honestly the biggest barrier, right? Forget about education. We know that's general. Everybody, like you said, Sheik, men too, have a lot of uneducated people. And even when Desmond used his analogy about going to an NYC and environment and taking a quick what they call it poll, he didn't specify just women. So obviously there are men who also lack these skills, right? Leadership skill is leadership skill. It has no gender. It's honest to see these things from this point of the whole discussion, reducing something as powerful as this to just clothing. It's how do we eradicate barriers to women in politics? I swear to God. To Jesus and understand that what this person's biological makeup is. Look out for the leaderships. How do I explain? In school, right? Sheik, I don't know if you have the same experience, but in school, growing up, even in as little as primary school, when a teacher wants to leave the class, there's always someone, he just scans the class and picks on someone and says, you, watch the rest of them, or you, take down names of noisemakers. That person is usually picked whether they're a boy or a girl. Because guess what? When primary school, for example, nobody even considers you as a man to start with, right? We go back to thinking and identifying people to be in our leadership positions strictly by their leadership skill. If you still, at this age in time, at this point in time, are not able to identify leadership skills in people when you see them, that's the problem. Oh, thank you, Sheik.
Okay, I think I'll just bring in Century at this point with my co-host. Usually, unfortunately today he was busy, so let's just get Century to chime in the conversation.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think whoever in his hand. Sorry.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, Century, go ahead.
Yes, joined in a bit late. Apologies. But just to chime in on the conversation, I think one of the biggest problem facing women when it comes to politics is a cultural problem or a mindset problem, and the mindset is on both axes. We've had a couple of people allude to African culture, the way we see the world. This whole feminism thing is causing issues and things like that. And in a sense, it's sort of like the core. There was this statement that says something. It's culture. It's
policies for breakfast. You can have all the right policies, you can have all the right level playing field, but if the cultural element of is not addressed, we would not move forward. And to address the cultural perspective, I'll try to speak to that from a male perspective. I mean, we are used to the concept of racism, right? We feel like that as Black people, we should be equal to our white counterparts. And it's obvious. Like we feel and we don't understand why. And I believe that the same thing also applies to gender. That it would take we as male to actually, for some second or for some minutes, step away from the privilege that we have and try to understand what it's like to be a woman. And when we have that, we will make that decision from that place of empathy to really understand, not to judge, not to fight, not just to really understand. Then it is from that perspective you start to understand that even from the day a woman is born, right? From the point where a family is trying to choose which gender that they want to give birth to, there is already some form of cultural barriers. From a fact that most families prefer to have a male child as opposed to a female child. You start to understand that why is that the case? So the barriers are there, and it would take that strong understanding that irrespective of whether you're a male or female, you have something in you. There's something that God has put in you to deliver on earth. There's some form of value you can actually create. And until we create that world where, that irrespective of your gender, we're able to enable everyone to deliver that value, then we can progress. There are scientists, there are smart minds, maybe the person that will solve our power problem might be a woman, but we don't know, right? But because we have that cultural mindset or that cultural thinking of how we place and see women in society, it will prevent us. Oh, they can't lead. Oh, they are emotional. All those kind of things. And you have someone who is a woman who has the capacity to solve that power problem we've been struggling with for decades. So until we address that cultural issue, it comes from a place of understanding that every single person on earth has something to provide, and we need to create a level playing field, not in terms of policy, in our mind. It's a construct in our mind. A level playing field in terms of the opportunities you give people access to. And it also applies to also women as well. I mean, most times when we talk about eradicating barriers, we always focus on, it's men at the cost of these barriers. I'll be very, very frank with you, right? In terms of the voting population, let's look at it practically. Women, if they decide tomorrow now that they want a female president, or they want a female senator, if women decide tomorrow, but there is that same barriers as well in their mind that also needs to be reworked, where you look at a fellow woman and you say, you know what, I will fight for this woman. She would protect my interest. There are several laws, several policies that needs to be advocated for in the House of Senate. And we all come together and fight and find women candidates and support them to run for office and vote for them. What you have in the Senate is you'd have at least 40 to 60%, 40 to 50% of the Senate will be women. And all those laws and policies that protect women can be passed. But what happens when a woman puts herself forward for office? Why can't she go out? What is she worrying herself? She's supposed to be in the kitchen taking care of her husband now, right? Why is she bothering herself? From women. Can you imagine? So I usually tell people that the real work that needs to be done in terms of eradicating the barriers for women in whatever field is not just on men, but also on women themselves, on breaking that chain, that programming that have been programmed. And guess what? This programming is passed from generation to generation. It's passed from mother to daughter. My daughter, this is what you cannot do. You are meant for the kitchen. You want to run for office. Why? No. Struggle to get married and take care of your children. No, I need my grandchildren. So there needs to be deprogramming. Like, women have a very important role in raising the next generation of women who would aspire to be great. And if so much work is spent on that, we will not be having this conversation. To be very, very frank, we men, we're just a victim of luck that the women have not woken up. All this talk about African politics, culture, and everything. The fact is, women create culture. They're the ones. They run the world, literally. If women say tomorrow that they want a president, you're wasting our time. A woman president will occur. So if you want to fight, if you want to ensure and eradicate the bias to win in politics, so much focus has been on men. Yes, we have to do better as men, but we have to go back to drawing board and start asking ourselves, how do we break that veil, that thing that prevented women from saying, let's wake up, let's rise up, let's take our place, let's stand? Because the fact is, factually, on paper, there is no, in quotes, barriers. A woman can put herself forward and run for office. Women have right to vote. Right? So what prevents a woman from putting herself for office and other women supporting her? Why? The women have the right to form a political party that prioritizes women issues. Yes, they can bring in men in that party. What prevents that from happening? But no, that is not happening. So the work needs to be done to rearrange. So if you're a woman here, it is super important that while you are attacking men, trying to get men to do better, you're also going back to drawing board and saying, we need to do better. We need to be women for women, supporting women. Even the current issue that have happened, the current case that's currently going on in the Senate. I mean, when you look at some of the takes from fellow women, you're like, whoa. Women don't even need to do anything. You don't do anything, just go and sit down. And you're like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? A woman is saying this. Ha. So that's one. Eradicating the barriers to women in politics starts with eradicating the chains, the mental chains that have held women down from thinking that they cannot be better, they're not equal to men, they cannot change things, and these chains are not passed down by men alone. They are even passed down by women. It starts with that. Thank you very much.
Analo, can I just come in?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was so when Desmond was speaking, I think my network just sort of like threw me out. So before I come to some of the things that Desmond raised, let me just look at some of the things that he has raised. We talk about this number, women have more numbers, and that's not the way Desmond speaks. I will allow his wife to vote. Answer question. It's not about numbers, it's about power. It's just like us say, oh, Nigeria has so much more population than United Kingdom, than France, than this. So Nigeria has resources. So Nigeria should be a better country with better GDP. Has that happened? It doesn't happen. Your numbers don't mean nothing if you don't have as much education, if you don't have as much power. I can tell you there are a lot of women who have been threatened with death, with divorce. Some have even been killed, some have been divorced because of political choices. Because of political choices, as simple as that. If you dare to vote another person, you will see this. Husband will do it, father will do it, brother will do it. These are the things we are talking about. It's not numbers. It's not just number. You just heard a Desmond. In this place now, we're supposed to be educated, all of us. At least anybody on this space is someone who is tech savvy, who knows social media, who is educated, who can speak. See what if somebody just came to put down. This is Africa. When you try to live as white, I'm quoting him now verbatim because I actually wrote it down. I couldn't imagine somebody saying it. I hope Desmond is here because this thing has been showing connecting. He needs to leave and come back so that he will hear properly. Really hope, because I even had some questions for him. I wanted to find out whether he's someone who is married and whether his wife is wealthy, because I saw how he was talking about, if you check how many women that are wealthy at Kiniko, how many percent of them are arrogant, how many they are not arrogant. Does have wealthy women around him? Is his mother wealthy? Is his wife wealthy? Are his sisters wealthy? So that's where you life. How is it? Do they have money? Have you guys allowed them to be, or because of this belief that, oh, there's a number out there that says if women have money, then you suppress your wife, your mothers, or you maybe your mothers were suppressed, and then you want to keep it. So when we talk about these numbers of women and all of that, it's not that easy. It's not. You're told there is no man that I've never seen where a man wanted to run for office and they called him a prostitute. Or is it gigolo? What's the male version? I never know how to pronounce that thing, that word. Have you ever called a man like that? No. The moment a woman says she wants to run for office, they begin to call her prostitute. Those are barriers. Those are huge barriers. It's not just about numbers. You're told you can't do this. You're told this is Africa. You dare not speak. Many people forget the battle we fought. Even something as simple as eating food in a restaurant that a lot of young women take for granted today. In my time, it was an abomination. Some of us that dead, we were looked upon as some kind of aliens. It was how can you say how can you go and buy food that a woman has cooked? Now they'll buy other food, they'll bring it to the house. Do you know what battle that is? So it's a whole lot of barrier, it's a whole lot of thing, especially this thing about the way Africans do things, the way African, do it. Literally, he made mention of when he was speaking about that NYC camp, he was talking about women that if you go there, women, you ask them to you interview them that they went to school didn't go through them. He just made it a women problem. This is the mindset we are fighting, and that is a Nigerian problem. It has nothing to do with gender. The educational system the quality, the standard is now low. And one of the things I really wish that Desmond was hearing me. I would have said, or even if he can hear me, let him go and play that recording of where he spoke, if we can, and listen to himself and Honorable Adora, and say if he was a company looking to employ person between himself and Honorable Adora, who would he employ? Who spoke more eloquently? Who spoke more? I'm not trying to insult anybody, but let him just listen. And on his own, since he say we should not be sentimental or biased, let him unbiasedly see among these two people. If I'm to bring somebody in and say, based on the way they spoke, who am I going to carry? This thing is not it's not a gender issue. We're facing so much more. And the thing that I found, I really would have loved to have asked him also was, I need to know, why is he not among them? He's with me here. He's with us here. He doesn't, they don't rate him in the politics. They don't allow him enter. Politicians are putting their children in politics. They are gapping. They don't see you and I as anything. You are feeling that you are among them because you both have a Y chromosome. You are a man, you are them. But they don't see you as one of them. It's only them. How many percentage of people do we have that are in this leadership position that are holding it? They are not children. And if their children get this thing over, those children more deadly because they are Ivy League educated, Ivy League schools are educated, they are tech savvy, they have intelligence, they have creativity, they have social media, they're going to be deadly. Their corruption will not be done as crudely as their parents did. They're going to do it with finesse. And so we're in trouble. These are the things we should be focused on. How do we get power to truly belong to the people, right? Few persons. The same person that I said, this is Africa, a woman cannot be. You too, you are not allowed to be there. Those people in power don't see you as a citizen. They see you as subhuman that cannot join them in that power. So you and I are in the same boat, though. The earlier we recognize it, that's what I was saying. Remember my earlier submission. I said, look, we have a problem here. Women and youth do not understand the same side of the coin. They are not seen as anything. They are denigrated. But the thing is that when they are talking about youth, you find that the older women will be raising shoulder and thinking, these children, they hear what? They are this because she's finished, she's among them. When they are talking about women, the youth who are male, they too, they be feeling, women cannot. But at the end of the day, We are all marginalized. And the earlier we know that, the better for every one of us. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a few things hanging on the air. I will come to that. I just want to bring in somebody into this conversation. Heidi Mola, you did say something about the practical perspective from your chat as a party founder. I would like
Guy,
to.
how do you leave me here? You don't even like tell me, okay, hold on, or let me. Is that how you do your space? You just leave your guests. You don't even talk to me. You're bringing people.
So, real ever best. I think Mola has been here before you, but please just pardon me. Today's space is not like we're falling. We're trying to just get more women and get certain nuances into the space. So, please, I will bring you in next. Apologies. Okay. So, Mola, I wanted to get out your perspective, please.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Prince Ademola. I'm the founder for Alliance for New Nigeria, ANN, that collaboratively contested its presidential ambition in 2015. Now, this is my first time of joining a social media gathering to have this kind of conversation. I just came in on Twitter and I saw it. I'm like, well, let me just share a few experience, maybe. Now, the question is eradicating barrier to women in politics. So the first question, is there a barrier? If there is barrier, who created the barrier? Now, why do they create the barrier? I've taken time to listen to most people, and I've discovered that everybody speaks based on their exposure, which is good and which is okay. Now, when I register Alliance for New Nigeria (ANN), part of the vision I shared with the national executive then was that we should ensure that we have 45% representation of women, both within the party structure and in the political office structure. I even told them that we should ensure that any woman who show interest in any political office should be given free tickets. Within the party structure, we struggle to get women to come in. Those whom we know and have the capacity to lead, they decline because most of them are career people. And those who are showing interest, they are not they are not the kind of people we want to hold those political, those party offices at that time. When it was during the time of election, and political party has to gather candidates, we struggled, even though the ticket was free. We struggled. We campaigned vehemently across the country, asking women to come forward. The ticket is free. Even if you don't have money, we will use our collective fund to put it for you. Maybe we're able to get 1.5% throughout the country. Now, what is the political narrative of our political elite in Nigeria? And I will throw it to all of you. If you have ever seen any woman hold any elective political office, not appointed or appointment political office, or elected political office, I can tell you that that woman must have been somebody who is not a career person. And that office, you see her hold, they must have slid it to her. And there is a corrupted file or a damaging image about her already before they could allow her. I'm talking about the political elite now, before they could allow her to get to that point. Now, it is only in Nigeria where, when the political elite wants to do the right thing, they know that people are there. So for those who come here and try to make it look like the women are this, no, 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 no. Politics don't build. Nobody builds anybody. Your family and the community is what builds you. But what finds you is the entire society, the country, depending on how you presented yourself. Somebody like Okonje, Weala, Doya, Koele, you can mention them. These are career people. If you ask them to go and contest for elected position, they will tell you no. But we were able to get these people into political space because as at that time, we had a political and economic problem. So it was expedient for the country to look for professionals, career people, who has international influence. Hence the reason they got them into the space. So we need to understand that. And somebody mentioned that we have a female speaker and the female speaker. See, that female speaker you talked about, they have a fight. They put her there for a reason. It is difficult to see a career professional woman to have interest in politics. Extremely difficult. They will tell you they are not interested. Because if you know the morality that goes around in the political space, whom women are the most victim of it, no sane woman will want to come near that corridor. And that is why the political elite, they have put that barrier that, okay, women will be used during the campaign period. And if you do your statistics, those who mobilize during the campaign, they are women. Those whom you see within that campaign are also women. And if you go down and do analysis of the personality of those who come to that campaign, some of them are, they don't have husband. If they have husband, they don't have any job they are doing. They may not be as educated or as insane, or they may not have the kind of exposure that we have. They may not have the kind of understanding that we have. Hence the reason you will see them within that corridor. And for anybody that the political elite want to move away from that lower cadre and open the barrier for them to come into political space, there must have been something terrible about you that they already have your file. So they are giving you that position because they know that they are going to control you. And at any point in time when they know they don't need you or you are good, they'll just bring that to fire. And that brings me down to the issue of Kemi Adeosun. We all know the story. Very fantastic person. But when the power play discovered that the woman was not ready to compromise, what did they do? They exposed that. They are the one that put her there. So at the end of the day, the reality about Nigerian politics is that women are the victims. And there should be a conscious effort to really help them to come out. And it is not what me and you can do. Those who can do it are still the political elite. So the question is, how do we get to that space where we can become a political elite? Then we can begin to gear this psychology, this philosophy, this way of life, this thinking around, turning it around, making it open for people, professionals, good people, to come into political space and discharge their duties accordingly. So, for those who came, who said that women, please, I think you hold the women on this platform an apologies for that, because we also have bad men. So you can't put a barrier on a bad character. You can't associate with women. The women even suffer more in Nigeria than men. Go to the north. As a northerner, if you are a woman, you are there in the kitchen, they don't believe that a woman should lead them. The culture of Hausa man or a Fulani do not accept a woman to lead in the first place. And you can go and find out. It is only in the south you see women, coming up, getting to higher position. But in the north, it's rare. Have you ever seen, just check around, all the people you see in the National Assembly who are women, where are they from? How many of them are from the north? How many female senators have you ever seen in this country who are from the north? How many female House of Rep members have you ever seen that comes from the north? So it's a big issue, all right? But the best way we can remove that barrier is to ensure that we do a lot of work. I just hope that maybe those organizers of this and maybe other people can find time and sit down and analyze how do we get to that position of corridor where we can begin to turn around these things, because it is only when you are there you can change it. If you are not there, I'm telling you, you can't change it. They will frustrate you. They have every mechanism to frustrate you, just to ensure that they keep dishing out all their narratives and they continue to execute their narratives. And like Aisha Yusuf said, they are planning, they're already, keying in their children. My children are children, and your children, they are not in the calculation. So as they are living, they are replacing themselves. And what she said, which was profound, is that the most dangerous aspect of it is even their children, not even them. Because the rate at which the children will destroy it will be so alarming that we may not be able to recover this country from them. And at the end of the day, people like me and you will just become a whaler in the ocean of politics in Nigeria. So I don't really have much I have a lot I will have loved to share, but like I said, this is my first time of coming to to social media group to have this conversation. Thank you and God bless you.
Okay, hi, thank you very much for that submission. And because I was very much interested in the fact that you founded a political party. And just to, Adiko, I've actually sent you a message. I would like to engage you, and I would probably like us to have a space where we discuss founding a political party in Nigeria and the intricacies. I don't know, will that be an okay conversation that you'd like to engage us, please?
That's fine.
Okay, so if you can just respond my DM so that we can just work that modality, because I think that's something, because like Madam Aisha has highlighted, while we talk about barriers to women participation, the barrier is so much. And you realize that most times, like, these barriers are created because they do not want different people on the table. I remember one very profound tweet that somebody put out once where somebody said, you are celebrating these people today because you think you have got it, you are part of the table, but you forget that you are the meal on the table. You are not actually one of the people who is eating from the table. You are the meal on the table. So that's something that I think we should take home and understand that most times when people tend to be like, oh no, this person, and like what was happening currently where certain people are siding with the Senate president and all of that, is the fact that you probably think that, oh, I can speak for them today because I have access to certain peanuts and all of that. Sorry, you are not a member of the table. You are just part of the meal on the table. And when it's time, they will devour you as well. Both the same way that we have barriers to women participation, when it comes to youth, there's barrier. So at different points, you find out that the goalpost shift. They always try to find different means to exclude people. If you are well educated and well read, they'll tell you, oh, we do not want people who are going to speak big grammar. If you are of a different demography, there is always the barrier. So it's like you finish one hurdle, you're no longer a woman, they say, oh, you're too young, or you're too old, or you have. So there is always a barrier. And these are things that we need to see how we can surmount. And that's why I think that creating a space where we can strategize, where we can collectively and say, what we want to focus on as Nigerians is excellence, is people who can give us the best of good governance, irrespective of where you're from. Though tribe and tongue may differ, both your age, your gender, all of these do not matter. At the end of the day, what Nigeria simply wants is good governance. I remember when somebody said something that when you are in an emergency and you run to an emergency hospital department, you truly do not care who is operating on you at that point. All you want is the best doctor on the table. And that is what Nigeria really needs right now. So we will come back to that conversation. Please permit me, I will just bring in Real Ever Best Criminal, then the ladies, I will bring you on board. So Real Ever Best, please, you've got the mic.
All right. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon,
Please, can
good
you speak up?
evening.
You're quite distant. Can you speak up, please?
All right. Okay.
Yes,
Good morning, good
perfect,
afternoon,
sure.
good evening, depending where you're spacing from. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah, good. Go
All right. Let me first of all greet my madam. Mommy Aisha, good evening. I greet you special and Honorable Adora. Sheikh, thank you for bringing me up. Don't worry, I'll call you later, ma. So, I think maybe Honorable Adora and Madam Aisha actually spoke to the issue, because I was listening to what this man was saying, and my heart was actually jumping out of me, because everything he said on this space does not belong actually on this platform. I don't know what topic he was actually speaking to. He said two things. He talked about culture, he talked about education, and he talked about, what again? He talked about competence. And I don't know how he married those three things together, because one, women, if you go to schools, any school you can go to, secondary school, teacher institutions, women are leading. They are leading in classes, and among them are lecturers. So are you saying that those women who are lecturers are not teaching well? Are you saying that those women who are doctors, they are not doing well? Are you saying that those women who are lawyers are not doing well? I don't really understand. Is it only when it comes to politics, suddenly they become incompetent? And again, he talked about Natasha not knowing how to sign, and that was what brought all about this. But I don't even know which word this guy is coming from, because if you even go to our court, go to court, senior like SAN, get missing not missing something, as when you're submitting a document, not signing something or missing one aspect of law is something that is very common. Go to court every day, the return document that SN will bring and say, oh, you did not file this one well, you have to file it like this. These things are things that happen. That is not even supposed to be a problem. It's supposed to be something that's, oh, you're not supposed to sign it, take it back and sign it. And it's not supposed to be a problem. But the elephant in the room, and this is what we should actually pay attention to, that our problem today is not actually women being in politics. The problem is our recruitment system. How does people come into position of power in this part of in Nigeria? How the recruitment process? Because the biggest problem we have, and the problem that throw up the kind of leadership that we have today, is the recruitment processes. And therefore, the way our recruitment processes is structured in Nigeria today does not allow women to come in. The way it was structured already has actually bounced out women to actually participate. And therefore, anytime you see any woman that actually tried to get into position, it's either that person is handpicked into that position and say, okay, let's just put her, let us rig her in. Or if anyone tried to come through normal process, that person will come beaten. Look at the Natasha we are talking about today. Nobody is talking about how she got into that position, and even throughout the court, nobody talked about what happened, how she got into that process. They only talked about, oh, she got the highest vote, even though she was rigged out and her mandate was restored. But before she was beaten, she was brutalized. The road to her place was cut off. And nobody talked about. So this woman came into office like an aburo, like somebody who has stolen. She was beaten, she was dragged, and she was disgraced even before she got into that, because that system was not supposed to allow her to get into that process. So how many women today will be able to get into politics in the way politics is played in this country? One, you must have money. You must come from a party, a mainstream party. You must have money. You must be aburo, and you must be able to go to nocturnal meetings that they held at night. So already that system, and not only for women, it's even flawed to men, like competent men who want to get into office. The system does not even allow them to get into office. And Madam Aisha will always say that she's not an activist, that she's an active citizen. I think this is something that all of us should start paying attention to. Like every Nigerian is supposed to be an active citizen. And how do we become an active citizen? It's for us to pay attention to our election, because most times, most of us are not interested in election. We don't even pay attention in election. But after election, we now begin to say, oh, these leaders are supposed to do this. There is nobody who rigged himself or herself into elective position that will do better. I want to repeat that again. There is nobody who rigged himself or herself into a position of power that will do better. It will not happen, because that system will allow incompetent people whose aim was not to do anything right, to get into position. And when they get there, so Nigerians, even right now, what we should be talking about is how do we strengthen our electoral system? How be that a country like Nigeria, that our recruitment process is flawed, that we are still operating as if we're in Stone Age, that the laws that we have, we undermine it. The electoral umpire will undermine it. Then we'll go to the court, the judiciary will undermine it, and it threw out, morons into position of power. And we now have this problem. We now begin to discuss, oh, why is women not in politics? Oh, how will our leaders do this? The problem is the recruitment process. And that is the issue. That problem is bigger than corruption in Nigeria. It's bigger than everything that we'll talk about. Because if we don't get competent people into position of power, how do we expect our economy to develop? How do we expect that we develop infrastructure? Like people who cannot speak to the issues for which they have contested election to win, people who did not even tell Nigerians this is what they are going to do. How do we expect those people to actually perform? Political parties in Nigeria, like somebody who said, oh, I founded a party. Most times, these political parties are funded just for them to be a vehicle. So they just fund them and they wait for any day somebody will lose tickets in one party and they will now eventually come into that. Like they are like special purpose vehicles, right? But there is something. Let me end with this. I participated in Edo State election. Apart from national election, there is something that was very striking. That became very striking. That even though the election was rigged, but majority of the people who actually registered and collected PVC did not come out to vote. For example, where the person I was supporting, voted, it was a collection of centers. They call it polling center. Polling center is a collection of different polling units. There is about close to 11,000 or 12,000 people that registered to vote in that very place. In fact, in the very place my principal actually voted, 620 people in the very polling units. He voted. 620 people are registered to vote in that place. Less than 100 came out to vote. In the whole of that polling center, that voting center, less than 4,000 came to vote. Like we are 4,000, more than 11,000 people registered. Now, the people bought election, they rigged an election. You can imagine if 7,000 people had come out to vote on that day. How many people would they have been able to buy? So what the politicians have done is to make sure that they demoralize people not to participate in an election. So it makes it easier for them to have enough money to buy the few people that will come. For me, it's not like, okay, I support Peter Obi, but the truth about the matter is that it doesn't even matter whether it's Peter Obi that wins or another person. As long as that recruitment system is good, it means that if we made a mistake of voting a moron into our office, we can have the chance of voting that person out the next time. But in Nigeria, the election is like ceremony. They just make us look as though we are the one that voted them, but we are not the one that voted them, and therefore that is why they are not answerable to us. Akpabio was not supposed to be in the Senate. He did not contest primary. Lawan did not contest a primary. Tinubu did not win election. So how do you expect these people to actually be the people that will now bring reforms that will develop this? It's not going to happen. And the problem starts with us. If Nigerian citizens will say, let us come together, even in this, as election is coming, can we even start organizing and start speaking to the issue of how do we have free and fair election? How do we have our recruitment system in such a way that anybody that the people voted is the person, even if we vote a dog, let that dog go there. If the dog mismanaged, it's okay, next time this dog, we are not voting you again. That is the only way we can now have women. Women can now come and participate in politics without being beaten, without being dragged out, without their road being cut off, without somebody telling them they are not properly educated, without somebody telling, in short, that problem of education. Let me speak about Natasha. I don't know how many people in that Senate today that is more outspoken, that is more educated than Natasha. If it's the case that the men who are in the Senate are more educated, they are sound, they are Harvard graduate, they are Ivy League, then we'll begin to talk about it. That same Nigerian Senate, we've seen people who for their certificate, we've seen people who cannot speak, we've seen people who have been there sleeping, they've not spoken for once. And somehow you want to say, oh, Natasha embarrassed you because he did not sign a particular thing in a document. Let us address the elephant in the room. And that elephant in the room is our recruitment process. How do we make sure that Nigerians can vote and say, this is the person that we voted for, and this is the person that is representing us? Because right now, majority of people who are representing us, we never voted them. They actually bought themselves into office or voted or rigged themselves into office. And that is why we are having this kind of outcome that we're having. So before we begin to talk about outcome, let us talk about the process, how they got into position of power. And until we achieve that, we'll still come here and be talking about women in politics, because the truth about them in Nigeria today, both men and women are disenfranchised. Men, competent men who want to get into office cannot get into office. Now, women will not even come because the system was not even structured to even accommodate them. Thank you so much. I don't want to hug this mic so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for that submission, and thank you. I love when people try to broaden the conversation and take us through other angles that might have not just caught the natural eyes. So the process is very critical. I think in my submission earlier, I had outlined that processes. We need to start looking at processes in Nigeria, the process that brings forward these leaders, and in that ways we can also still see the barriers as it affects the different demographies. So thank you for that submission. I'll just try to move the mic a bit fast at this point because we're almost coming to the end of the space. I think I gave motive 1930. I don't want to call you criminals on board, please. So so motive 1930, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Thank you. Ataisha Yusufu, thank you. I will be very brief here because earlier speakers have spoken well. They've really highlighted most of the points I wanted to say, but I will chip in this. We want Auntie Aisha Yusuf to start building women for leadership. We want a spirit in her to ignite women and able to give them more confidence to stand in for leadership positions. A very good example is here in Lagos State. The House of Assembly, they voted out a speaker, and within them, they voted a woman as a speaker. One way or the other, the former speaker got to the Aso Rock, met with a woman there at the Aso Rock, a powerful woman, and the same woman maneuvered everybody and said, that's the same guy we want there. It has become a cultural problem. It has become where we intend not to understand that the barrier is only when women they can manipulate is the ones they want in positions. Why Senator Natasha has been having serious problem is one way or the other, they've all sat on the same table and ate together. So it is easier for them to start fighting back, especially when you've gone through rigorous positions to get your position back, and one way or the other, they don't want favor or the other for you. And these are men who I call animals. I'm sorry to use this word there. Please permit me. These people have been in government. They're recruiting their children every time, as what Ante Yusuf had said. And today, we are still where we are. So, in my own conclusion, we need women who can speak, women who can start doing some level of sensitization in other younger women, because we need people who can speak for them. In Lagos here, we have women who goes into elections and they never make it out. It is either they are being forced out, or they have been bullied, or they have been, it's either their husband has been called or threatened to be killed or whatsoever. So we don't really have them. We don't really have them. And they have to come on board. So we need Sister Aisha Yusuf to please, if it's an NGO, if it's a program, if it's one way or the other, please, you need to start speaking to the sensibility of these women so that we can have them in leadership position. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sheikh. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to speak here. Grateful. Bye.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, with the hand symbol, I don't think. Madam Aisha, would you want to respond to that? Or, well, I think with you making a hand symbol, I don't know. Okay, I'll just move the mic.
No, I just thought, like, well done. You know, half of the hard symbol, you can't, it's a bit limited. But yeah, there are certain things that are being done. Yeah, in due course are not too far away from now. It will all be put out publicly in a more organized manner, and it's for all of us now to do all we can to join hand in building a great country. But one of the things, like I did mention earlier, we have to understand is that this marginalization is both ways, and we need to find a way for the power to actually come back to the people. Thank you.
All right, power to the people is where we stand. So Nigerians, let's put our hands together. It's high time to get. So I think what the last speaker before Madam Aisha did say. But the question I'm going to ask everybody is, what are you doing within your limited space? You know, whether it be within your family WhatsApp group, whether it's in your workplace, you know, what effort are we making to ensure that this whole leadership, because when things start happening at the micro level, it starts precipitating to the top. Somebody mentioned here, I think that was Ademola, who talked about the fact that when they founded the political party, a lot of women wanted to focus on their career. But I think in terms of, can we start looking at within our spaces and start giving people more responsibility? Because sometimes this little responsibility starts making people have the confidence to want to take on more responsibility. So I just putting the challenge out there that everybody, we must put our hand together to start ensuring that the voices who are less represented in our political spaces, in our leadership positions, are given more attention. Thank you very much. I would like to bring in Maria Elue.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Maria Elue.
Yeah, thank you. You have the mic. Let's hear you. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. God bless you for that last statement that you made, because that's exactly what I want to highlight. First of all, I want to thank Madam Aisha Yusuf for being a voice to the voiceless and for being courageous. We need more people like her. And I also want to thank everyone and appreciate spaces like this where we speak up, because we may think that these people are not hearing what we are saying, but these things we are saying is hitting them. Secondly, as a parent, I believe in reorientating my children, especially the male, teaching them that the female is not a trash bin for frustration, for violence, for anger, that the female is an honorable vessel to be respected. So that reorientation should be done by parents from the house, first of all. Then also, I agree with the process of bringing in good leadership that will change and enact laws that will favor women and eradicate violence. But before then, you just hit a note that is very strong. What are we doing in our little spaces? I take myself, for example. I'm a woman and I have passion for cleanliness. Most times I go around schools teaching children the need to dispose of their waste properly. Don't take water and drop the bottle on the floor or throw it out of the window of the car. So like I'm putting up an NGO that motivates Nigerians to keep their environment clean so that we can reduce diseases and ill health rather than waiting for government. And that's it. We the people need to know that we are the power, we are the government, and we need to start taking this power. And as we are doing it, we are noticing some governmental agencies who are looking, who are becoming interested, and is motivating them to do one or two things. So I like that particular statement. Let us start taking the bull by the horn. And like I said, the talking is good, because the only condition for evil to thrive is when the good ones keep quiet. Thank you very much. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you for being very succinct and straight to the point. I love that. And so there's some things that we keep saying. We want more participation. We want to hear more female voices. So please, today's space, I've sort of tried to put the men on the back footing. I'm giving more. I want any woman who wants to speak, I'm trying to give them the mic more. So please and please, but while we're wrapping up, we'll try to just get more voices in. I don't know, Tonya. I think you're the next person. So Tonya.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. I'm
Okay.
happy you're a lady. Okay, go
All
ahead.
right. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this issue. I'll be as brief as possible because I'm at work. So injustice and subjugation affect women worldwide, but it is especially severe in Africa. Particularly, Nigeria is really bad. Why? Why is Nigeria bad? Because these practices are deeply rooted in our cultures and traditions. Ironically, women themselves are the custodian and they are the ones who uphold these customs. And as a result, they keep passing them down through generations. Take a look at if you doubt me, just take a look at your own family and your communities. So if we want to make any change, if we want to start impacting on anything, if you want to achieve anything in terms of women empowerment, we have to start changing our families. More of Nigerian women need to speak up and challenge these cultural norms. If you're in a Christian organization, if you're a member of the Umada group or any other women group, start educating those around you, one step at a time. I live in New York, and I belong to a lot of female organizations. And we have this outreach program and empowerment programs for women. Because just like one of I can't remember the speaker who spoke about this, if we really want to change, the women themselves have to play a very crucial role in their environment, in their culture, in their tradition. Most of these cultural practices against empowerment of women start from our cultures. And the women in particular are the custodians of these harmful practices against the women folk. So if we want to make any change, let's start looking at ourselves and let's start making changes from within us. So if you can get your family members, your immediate family, to start thinking differently, particularly when it has to do with women and the girl child, we'll start changing things one step at a time. That is before we go into the wider society. But nothing stops us from attacking and addressing these issues, in different from different angles. Let's do the family, let's do the community, and of course, let's do the one we can do outside. I think that's all I have for now. Thank you for the opportunity, and I yield the mic.
Once again, spot on, succinct submissions and straight to the point. And I think that submission is quite very germane because certain institutions sort of reinforce these barriers. And I was actually thinking in terms of, while I did mention within your small communities, try doing things, I think it's important that even at the local levels, the village meetings and all those places, most of the women who have found themselves to be empowered should try to also take leadership positions in these places, because sometimes those places are the tools that are used to further kind of create these barriers. So you go to like all these town meetings and they have certain kind of laws that are very, very troubling. But you would realize that if a woman who is much more economically empowered comes into that position, they can be able to move for certain changes. And I am one person who I believe that every generation writes its own rule book, and culture, as they say, culture and traditions are such that they are adaptable to human existence. As we go along, we're supposed to modify and adapt these things to the day. Because I always make this argument of, if the people who did not have internet facilities, who did not have, some of them couldn't even read and write, could sit down and make some of these laws, how come our generation, who are much more informed, cannot review some of these laws and we keep continuing to reinforcing it? This is how it has always been. Whereas we know that if something is impacting us, we would move our body. So it's like the normal stimuli. If you put your hand where there's heat, you will take out your hand after a while because the heat starts charring your skin. So I think it should be on us to also know that when laws have been made from time immemorial, But with our knowledge of today, we realize that this has some negative impact on our society. Should we be challenging these laws? I'll leave that with everybody to think about. And I'll just move the mic quickly. Violet. Let's get you back on the mic. If you can keep it succinct, I'll just try to run the mic through everybody that's left to speak.
Hi, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak again. There's a lot that I've learned from the speakers, and then a lot that a lot of us have learned from, what we still have to do. Like the guy that everyone was trolling. So I think at this point too, there's that issue of having that mindset, that expansive mindset to differentiate complex concepts. Because a lot of these issues are complex. It's not as simple as like saying, especially from what we've learned from other people, that, oh, if there are more women, that means we can just go up and say, oh, we want this or we want that. If that were the case, the caricature of a riot that happened against Senator Natasha would have, caused a ripple, right? I mean, those kind of things can cause, or rather, can lead to negative outcomes if the people that are doing it have a certain amount of power. But I don't know, someone's mic is on, and I don't know, I think it's distracting me. Have a certain amount of power, but it's not. They're not. Sorry, I don't know whose mic is on, but it's making a static sound. So the whole point I'm
Go ahead,
trying to
I'll
make
mute
is that while we're here and having these conversations, it's really important. Like it's educating so many people, right? I think we should continue doing that. We should continue having bigger platforms for this, and also reaching out to people where they hang out, especially the ones that are up and coming, right? I think, well, they say not everybody is useless. So even the person that said something that was not in line with what we're talking about was emphasizing on something about grassroots. And that's one thing that we can all agree on, but perhaps not approaching it in the manner with which he was suggesting, right? Going to grassroots means right now, or young women that are being derailed by lack of employment, etc., and settling for demeaning positions in society. No matter how much expensive things they buy with those demeaning habits, right? They would go on to become the kinds of women that are being used as tools and pawns in politics, also that they could maybe feed their families, because sometimes people do these things for not just selfish things, but for things that are beyond their control or whatever, right? But going there, going on bigger platforms, having these podcasts, getting speakers that can break these things down in a TikTok absorbable way, if that's what it would take. For these ones coming up to like say, look, it doesn't matter what you're doing now, it doesn't matter what's going on, it doesn't matter whether or not you're employed or you have opportunities, but you can make these opportunities for yourself, right? Someone that barely had opportunities, I grew up being sheltered and all of that, but I've accomplished so much at this my young age. I don't think it's so much, but compared to like a lot of people my age, right? And it's not about the figures in the accounts so much as maybe influence in certain spaces and just being the go-to person, or like someone described yesterday, oh, you've raised queens. And I'm like, oh wow, I hadn't thought about it like that. But yes, I have had certain young women under my care and pointed them in the right direction. I'm like, look, you're brilliant. You are a freaking genius right now. You cannot be taking a pittance for your services. And just showing them that this is how to go about it, getting them more confidence, right? Itty bitty things. And it doesn't take 10 years. I have someone in mind as I'm giving this example. It took like this happened 3-4 years ago. And now they launched like a fintech app using AI, using this. They're well accomplished in their lives. And I can confidently say, oh, I had a hand in doing this. I had a hand in helping someone shape their future by not letting them get derailed by the community women that said, oh, go and do a one handwork. Everything is, but let's be progressive here, right? They said, no, don't do this. Go into tech. You have the brains for it. You have this, you have that. And now they're out of the country. They're living their best lives. They've launched this app and they're doing so well for themselves. Sometimes young women don't need so much, quote unquote. And no, it's not also about education, because this person in mind was not very good educationally. They don't even have their WAEC certificates and all that, but they are a good role model. In fact, I was still in school while they had started their own things, like following up, trying to get into school. But at the time when I was doing my IT, that's industrial training, computer science students that were on my level were going to her for her IT. This is someone that barely passed WAEC. But because she had this tech company and she was doing so well and doing that, computer science students were going to her house and she was signing their logbooks. That's an quote unquote uneducated woman. So we have to revolutionize the idea of education. It's not about come on, even the educational systems we have right now is not even up to par for us to use that as, a standard. But it's more about the itsy bitsy things. How much do you believe in yourself? What are your morals? And it's not about being quote unquote submissive or anything like that, right? Um, because I think people just confuse the definition of being submissive, right? You can be. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So I would have to keep people to 2 minutes because we will be ending this space in about 10 minutes exactly. Okay, so Dr. Charles, please just keep it very succinct, straight to the point, hit the punchline. 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to appreciate everyone that's spoken and then go straight to my point. My point is, if we continue being reactionary about things, we may never get any solution, because we're talking about eradicating barriers and to women in politics just because there was an issue between a woman and the Senate president. You expect distance when the kind of people who we have in power are in power. So what the point I want to make is that let's look at processes to put in place to prevent or to ensure that there's a level playing ground for everyone who desires to serve in a public office. And one of the steps would be by building political parties that are not rooted in the mindset of those that are existing now. If we build political parties where primaries can be transparent, primaries can be without rancor, primaries can be without any form of violence or intimidation, primaries can be based on stipulated laws and constitution of the party, then everyone will be able to access, forms, will be able to contest freely, and will be able to, win in a transparent manner. So those are the things we should be looking at. Let's be looking at how to form political parties that empowers everyone equally, that doesn't look at the money bags, that doesn't look at people who are the strongest, because literally what we have in Nigeria at the moment in terms of political recruitment or recruitment of public servants is something you can call survival of the fittest, right? There's no uh, um, form of laws or whatever that protects those who are weaker, in quotes. So if those things exist, if the environment is such that it's only the fittest, the strongest that survives, the law comes second. The law is only followed when it favors the strong. When it doesn't favor the strong, nobody cares about the law. Anything can be, the law can be twisted by the same people who are supposed to be custodians of the law. Then there's nothing we can do. So let's not just. Oh, thank you.
So when I ring the bell, it's like 30, giving you 30 seconds to wrap up so that it doesn't look like I'm cutting. So if you can wrap up what you're saying so that
Okay,
it's
I'll
like
just
you know
try
you're
to,
done then.
keep to the time. Yeah. So let's not be reactionary. Let's look at how to prevent or how to increase the participation of women in the future. And one of the ways would be by forming political parties that would be able to produce candidates based on merit, based on competence, and all of that, without any form of intimidation to anybody from any demographic. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that submission. And the idea of political parties and everybody has been a recurring theme, not just in this conversation, in other conversations where the idea of exclusion. I think our last conversation was, is the political space currently inclusive or exclusive, right? And you do this political party. And I just want to put you on the spot, if you don't mind, in terms of how committed are you to finding a new political party? Do you think that that is something that, if in the next few months something like that comes up, how committed do you think you will be to that cause?
Yeah, personally, I would say I'm 100% ready for anything that can build a political party that can offer transparency, accountability, and a level playing ground to everyone to participate. Because I have personally participated actively in the existing political parties in Nigeria, and I've seen that there's nothing like democracy when it comes to party politics. It's just about who is in charge, who is in control, who has the money, and every other thing, if this group will go and write their delegate list, the other group will go and write their delegate list, and at the end of the day, anybody whose delegate list is accepted becomes the winner. That's what happens. There's nothing like election. There's nothing like internal democracy. And when these persons become flag bearers, you will now be faced with choosing between the devil and deep blue sea and all of that. But if we have political parties that can, fund and project competent people continuously to Nigerians, one day we'll get it right. That is what I believe. So, as a matter of fact, I am 100% ready and committed, to commit resources and whatever it will require to ensure that we can produce a political party, that can drive the change we desire in Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So I think this conversation is something we should have one of these days. I think we're going to make it a topic. So if you're in this place and you would like to keep up with our conversations, it's every Sunday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. We will be bringing these conversations. And on the Jumbotron, I've just shared a link. If you want to be part of our community where we're trying to create a working team that is able to start taking on the actions that we discuss here, then you can follow that link on the Jumbotron to join the Telegram group. We're trying to hit a critical number before we activate, and currently trying to see if we can get somebody who is going to be responsible for managing the community. So that's that. I've just got 2 more persons to take, and we will run. So Felix Elijah, and then Oluwaseun follow after that, and then we'll wrap up the space.
Yeah, thank you so much for shaming me. Okay, all right, thank you. Sorry for the distraction. Thank you so much for the opportunity and this platform. I've been listening and watching the process going on, and it's quite disheartening to see how things is going in our country, Nigeria. And what the issues we have here right now actually is from the grassroots, is from the foundation. And if you look at when we're talking about even the founding fathers of Nigeria in quotes, you hardly hear the name of women in it. So it actually cuts across the grassroots. Why? Because they have been relegated to homes, and they are not given voices. They've been silenced. And one of the things I want to make clear, there was a time I was on the platform just like this, and they were having a conversation. And someone was saying that, no, men are talking, you have to, you was talking to a lady, no, it's men that's talking here, you have to listen, you have to submit. No, that is not right. Women are not inferior to men. That must be clear. Even in the setting of marriage, women are not inferior to men. For the case of sake of orderliness, that's why it said submit. It's not like you don't have for orderliness to be. That is why that order is there. But it's not like they are inferior or they don't have an opinion. And that should be something that should be driven into the minds of everyone in our community. Men sees women as a project. They don't see them as a part of us. We are big. Hey, so can you keep quiet? Sorry, those are my daughters. All right. So they see women as project, or want to even get married. They see them as, oh, this is like next time, let me just get. I see them as a property they are acquiring, and then sit in the house, do this for me, do this for me. No, that is not the role of a woman, and that is why, even though if you look at what in the political landscape of our country, Nigeria, there are some things that the politicians are doing. Number one, they take advantage of education. Number one, they make sure that the general population are all educated. And what's more, they make the women even less educated than the men. Two, poverty. They make people to be poor, cut across, in order to create that poverty mentality, lack mentality, for them not to be able to be creative in their minds to produce. It is when you have you are okay enough to be okay. That's when you can think creatively. If you are hungry, all you'll be thinking about is food. You'll be thinking of any way to just get food. And once they deprive you of the fundamental thing, you cannot produce. You can't give what you don't have. And that's what they are doing. And in this setting, they even make the women more poor relative to men. And the third thing is the cultural norms, in quotes, that has spanned through generation in the way women are raised and men are raised. If you look at every home, the way women are raised is actually different from the way men are raised. Women are raised, you'll be telling that you'll be married, you will have children, this is how you'll be doing in the house of your husband. And that is how they create them, instead of making them feel that, look, you are actually the one that is building the nation. And because the standard of, education that a woman has is actually what determines. Man, I just thank you so much. I'm almost done. So what I just want to say, in addition to what I've been saying, is that someone was talking about the political parties. Most our political parties right now have reduced women to dancers and carriers of ashwabi, but they are not giving them the opportunity. And what I feel like we should do is go through all of this dimension and be able to help, starting from this generation that we have. Education is fundamental, particularly girl child education. Two, empowerment of women to be able to take leadership role in everything, including financial capacity. And thirdly, dismantling these cultural norms. And if education should go in this dimension, it's going to help, us as men, women, and the whole nation as a whole to develop a great nation, Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, and thank you for the new dimensions you brought as well to the conversation. I'll just move it forward to Oluwaseun.
Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for allowing me on this platform. Also, I can be very fast. Just a few things. I've been listening to this, but first, I think it's a very patriarchal system that we run in Nigeria, and it was very disappointing because I was opportune to actually watch the whole Senate hearing, and you could tell that no one in that place was thinking about anything other than protecting the men. And I found that very disappointing. But I'll move away from that and say, just to address the topic we're talking about today, barriers, family, culture, society. And I'll put all those three together. I'll give two examples. I have two daughters at the moment, and I have a father-in-law and a mother-in-law who had called me and said, "Oh, when are you going to give us a boy?" And I'm like, "No, I have children." And if I'm having another child, it's going to be a child, not a boy or a girl. It's ingrained in the system. Or even a mom that would say, "Why are you helping your wife too much?" And I'm like, "What does that mean?" So I think the family system, the culture that we run with, the society, those are things that we really need to work on if we want to go forward. One of the ways I think we could do that is tell our stories. You see, people tell the story of Awolowo or Nnamdi Azikwe or maybe Usman Danfodio. We tell all these stories, but where are the stories of our women? Because what we've done is that we've built children who know nothing about this. We've made them think that it's only men that do things. Everyone does things, but we need to tell these stories. And it's important to know that our politics is very dirty. So it is difficult for any man or any human, not to even talk of any woman, to engage in it. Men have done us as I think I remember maybe Desmond saying that women have done this, women have done that. I said, Sikon, Nigeria is where they are today because most of our politicians or most of those at the head of affairs are men. So we've done more harm than any woman has done. And I'm going to end this by saying that one of the things that, and I'm happy that Auntie Aisha is here because I'm probably just throwing this to her. If you can please, one of the things I've always wanted to say is that during this time that we're not voting or doing any elections, what is INEC doing for those that need to get registered? Because a lot of people that I know are struggling with getting registered. So if there's a way that, and I'm just using this platform and using maybe your voice to help us tell them that during this time, that maybe the elections are not going on. If they can please help us make sure that those who are not registered now, we can do it when there's no pressure. So it's not like when we get to election time, that's when we start hurrying. Nigeria like fire brigade approach. If we can do it now when there's no fire, when there's no stress, let's get this done now so that by the time we get there, a lot of people are already registered. I know our votes a lot of times don't count, but I always believe in the power of one. If we can get more people at least in that place, hopefully we get a bit more say when it comes to trying to pick whoever our leaders are. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think I heard you said family culture. What was the last thing you said again?
And the society.
And society, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so we're coming to the end of this show today. Thank you very much, everybody who has been with us on this platform. Thank you for those people who are always coming back every Sunday. This where we can be able to follow through discussion. So important that you kindly join our Telegram group to help us meet the target number for us to be able to activate the group. The space is always on a Sunday at 7 p.m. Nigerian time. We hope that you can always tweet at us with Nigerian Street Parliament and share ideas even when they just come to you randomly, and we will pick them up and we'll be able to engage further. I'll just bring in Madam Aisha. Do you have any last words? Okay, probably away from her phone. All right, so I'll just go through everybody. Just your last word, banger statement.
Sorry, here I was with the phone. I was just
okay.
I was trying to open it up. I think just to say to everyone, thank you for joining. For those who come back, it's a pleasure, and we've really had is for us to act. Action is and thank God our host here, they are documenting the things, and so when we're called upon to act, please let's do so. Because nature abhors vacuum, and the politicians give it to them, they put in the work. We all must also put in the work for us to get that nation we are looking for. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for that, and thank you for reminding us. The politicians, they put in the work. They put in the work to create these barriers. They put in the work to continue to take over the space, to continue to drive in corruption. We must put in the work if we want to change anything. I will just go around 1 minute. I'll start with Dr. Charles. Your last statement. What will be your take home for everybody on ending, eradicating the barriers? Okay, let's move forward. Violet.
So,
last words.
Sorry, I was just trying to get my mic unmuted. Sorry. So my last one
Okay, go ahead, hit it.
would just be, like I said earlier, proactiveness. Let's forget about what is happening and look at the future. Let's build a platform that will enable women to have access to the process that will bring them into politics. Because even with what we have today, it's not even easy for normal, ordinary. In fact, the people that get into power today are those we can refer to as the hard men. The hard men, the normal, competent, normal, empathic men do not have access to this political office. Not to talk of women who the society sees as weaker vessels. So let's create a platform that protects the vulnerable. That way, women and men alike can access these political offices. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Violet. Okay, let's move it forward.
Sorry, I
Felix
was also
Elijah.
coming back here to turn on my mic.
Okay,
Like I
please, if
said,
you got the mic, just kindly come back to your phone so that we can just run through this. Already 10 minutes over
okay.
time. Okay, go ahead, Violet.
All right. I just want to say thank you to everyone here who shared like valuable stuff that I've learned from as well. And like I said, this is like a close conversation, but I'm glad we're having these kind of conversations. But I would like for us to have it on like a bigger podium, more of this, like everywhere else, and make it viral.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Chat's being proactive. Violet is talking about the biggest platform. Felix Elijah.
Yeah, so the human mind works on vision and input from what they hear. So audiovisuals play a strong part in helping human mind to grow, to get information. So we can do a lot of advocacy, a lot of any visual education one way or the other to our children, to our families, advert on TVs, on social media, everywhere, giving power to everyone, including the women particularly. People will start having the right mindset. And that starts with education and continuous education. No time, we'll start seeing strong women come out, powerful men, women of integrity, men of integrity, ruling and taking charge of our dear country, Nigeria. Thank you.
Right. And Maria Elue.
Okay, let's do our own bit. Good things in our own little domain. Every little step counts. And let us vote wisely. Let us vote Peter Obi. Thank you.
Okay. And Oluwaseun.
Thank you. I strongly believe in the power of one. And based on that, I would say that be an example of a good person. I believe in children. I work with children, teach our children, and importantly, raise very strong girls. Thank you.
Powerful. Let's raise more strong ladies out there. Okay. And so I think with this pace, I hope that we can put in the work and be able to achieve more. So like coming to my head is the like of we talk about women who have come, who on their shoulder we stand today, the likes of Margaret Atwood, I think there's the lady Gambo Sawabra, the famous Formula Kutsi. We talk about the trio of the About Women riots, and there are lots of them. Those are people who today their name resonates. In the north, we had the Queen Amina, certain times. So, and today's world, we talk about like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Her name is high up there all the time. Aruma Ote. These are people who have made Nigeria proud, and they are women. We have Omobola Johnson. We also have Amina Mohammed and Adora Kunyele of blessed memory as well. So there's so much power within the women fold. And we believe that someday Nigeria will be that place where women will be able to maximize their potential. And we would not be left out in that drive to achieve that. So on that note, I will say thank you everybody for joining us. And please be with us again next week, same time, 7 p.m. on a Sunday, and very fruitful conversations will be had. My name is Chukwudi Analo, and I will be seeing you next week. Good night.